Hey, Moadim L'Simcha, coming to you live from our sukkah. On sukkahs you get a mitzvah just sitting in the sukkah, and it stopped raining, and believe it or not, it looks like it won't rain tonight, and we'll be able to have a beautiful dinner in the sukkah. So, Sukkot. If you study the Talmud, you find out that Sukkot was very, because on the holiday, Sukkot was very special, because on the holiday of Sukkot, they had special dancing in the holy city of Jerusalem. In fact, the holy sage Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya says that the whole days of Sukkot, our eyes didn't see any sleep. We literally danced all night. They had what was called Simchat Beit HaShoeva, where they danced in the streets of Jerusalem. They lit them up. They had golden candlesticks 70 feet tall that were lit all over Jerusalem. The entire Jerusalem would be lit. And all the great rabbis would do these tremendous acts of joy. In fact, the famous Rabban Gamliel, the famous leader, he would do headstands and kiss the floors of Jerusalem. He would juggle 8 candlesticks. And the question, of course, is, what was the joy all about? Why did we have so much joy specifically at Simchat Beit HaShoeva? In fact, the rabbis tell us that whoever did not see the celebration and the joy of Simchat Beit HaShoeva in Jerusalem has never seen joy in his life. And when you read, you find out that there was something quite interesting. That on Simchat Beit HaShoeva, on the first day of Sukkot, the high priests would walk down from Jerusalem to the city of David and beyond, and they would go to the Shiluach spring. And they would take water and bring it onto the altar. You see, the whole year, whenever there were sacrifices in the temple, they would pour wine. But on the days of Sukkot, besides pouring wine, they would also pour water to celebrate the special holiday. And therefore, because of the Mayim, Ush'af the Mayim B'Sason, when they took the water from the Shiluach and poured it onto the altar, it brought tremendous joy. But the question is, why? What's so special about water? I mean, we all know that when you want to get drunk, you drink wine. I never heard a guy say, hey, I had 4 glasses of wine, I got smashed, I couldn't even walk home. Really? Doesn't happen that way. So why the whole year, when we poured the wine, we didn't celebrate? But yet, on the holiday of Sukkot, when we poured the water, we celebrated. And herein lies the answer. The answer is like this. You see, wine is a delicacy. It's royal. It's expensive. It's something out of the ordinary. And yet, when we drink it, it produces certain chemicals in our brain, and it makes us inebriated. It makes us drunk. It makes us happy. But it's an external happiness. Water, on the other hand, is an internal happiness. Water is something that's the most common necessity. It's colorless, it's tasteless, it has no smell. It's found everywhere. Wherever you find water, you find life. In fact, our own cells in our body are 75 to 90% water. And the same is true with the fluid around our cells. It's all water. Water is an essential part of life. It's life itself. You can't survive without water. Wine is a delicacy, something that we take that's external. You see, the rabbis were sending us a powerful message. And that's why they said whoever didn't see the simcha, the celebration of the pouring of the water, has never seen a joy in his life. What does that mean? If I haven't seen the joy of pouring the wine, I was by a wedding, I was by a brit, I was by a bar mitzvah, I've never seen joy in their life. But the rabbis are telling us the deep meaning of what true happiness is. It's easy to be happy by external things. You drink a glass of wine, it impacts your brain, it makes you happy. You buy a new iPhone, you get a new Tesla, you get a new home, you get a new Xbox. External joy that makes us happy. It's easy. The question is, can you recognize that true joy and true happiness comes from life itself, internally? You can't produce it. It's not something that you take from the outside. It's like water. Just like water is a necessity that we need. It's part of who we are. It's the basic of life. It's tasteless. It's colorless. It doesn't make anything. It just brings out, it quenches our thirst, and it brings out the true joy within us. So is true with joy of life. That when a person recognizes to celebrate the grateful gratitude of the things that he has in his life, then you can have true joy. And that's what the rabbis are telling us. That when you have true joy, when you have the celebration of water, when you recognize to be grateful and have gratitude for the things you have in life, that's what Simchat Beit HaShoeva is, and that's the only true joy. And that's why the rabbis were so celebratory. They were celebrating the gift of life itself. I think it was, they say that life, there's 2 lives every person has. The second life starts when you realize there's only one life to have. I think Hemingway once says that happiness comes from health and a bad memory. But that's not true. Happiness is internal. I think I told you the story once of this girl. This teacher in class was speaking about the 7 wonders of the world. And she asked all the students to write it. And they all wrote it, and the majority came up with, the first was the Egypt's Great Pyramids, the Taj Mahal in India, the Grand Canyon in Arizona, the Panama Canal, the Empire State Building, St. Peter's Basilica, the Great Wall in China. The Dead Sea in Israel didn't come up. But there was one girl who continued writing and writing. And finally the teacher says, what's going on? She says, it's so hard, I have so much to choose from, I can't decide. So the teacher looks at her and says, tell me what you're thinking and maybe we could help you. And the girl hesitated, but then she read, I think the 7 wonders of the world are to touch, to taste, to see, to hear. And then she paused, and she said to feel, to laugh, and to love. The entire class was quiet. When we recognize to have gratitude in the water of life, in the joy of the things that God gave us, without having to buy happiness, without having to bring new things, then we can find true happiness. You know, talking about the water from the Shiloach well, I want to tell you something that brought me to true happiness. It's a story that happened a couple of years ago. It was the summer of 2019, and I took my family to Israel. It was a very special trip, a memorable trip, and I've spoken to you about it before. But right before I left, one of our friends here, Alex Shlenkevich, said, Rabbi, I have the best tour guide of the city of David, and I'm going to arrange for him to take you on an exclusive tour. Now, if you know, the city of David is what they unearthed a little bit away from the Kotel and the Temple Mount, which is where David originally had the city. And now, below the city, we find the Shiluach spring, where they took the water to pour on the temple. It was done by the holy King Chizkiyahu. Now, we got to go in an exclusive part of town. It was the part of town, exclusive part of the city of David. They uncovered the stones where they uncovered the road where the Jews who were making a pilgrimage to the temple for the holidays would walk up from the Shiluach River. They would come immerse in the Shiluach River, go to the mikvah, and then they would walk up these roads. And you see the stones. You literally walk on the stones that the Jews walked on 2,000 years ago. And you see the main road that they took. And on the side, there was all these little huts, all these little stands where they would sell things. People would do business because it was the main thoroughfare from the Shiluach water all the way up to the Temple Mount. And in the middle, they had the Even HaToin. You could see they uncovered that famous stone where people would come to declare lost objects, and people would come to find the lost objects. And in fact, our tour, James, who's a remarkable man, who knows the Bible, the city of David on the palm of his hand, he pulled from under the stones that they uncovered on the side where it's still rubble, literally ashes from the time of the destruction of the temple. Imagine, ashes of 1900 years ago. And I got to walk, and as we're walking up these stones, these hallowed sacred stones that the Jews walked on 2,000 years ago, as they made a pilgrimage every year with their families to the holy Beit HaMikdash. I got to walk it with my wife and 10 children and my parents. And we sang the song that the Talmud tells us the Jews sang when they made the Olei Regel, when they made this pilgrimage. Yivarechecha Hashem mitzion orei b'tuv Yerushalayim. May God bless you from Zion and see the good of Jerusalem. Urei banim levanecha shalom al Yisrael, and see children to your children, peace upon Israel. My parents, myself and Gurney, and my 10 children walked these hollows, these holy stones, on the way upwards towards the Temple Mount, and sang this song together. There was no greater eternal joy, recognizing the heritage we have, recognizing the gift that God has given us, recognizing the eternal joy, the soul, the neshama of a Yid. Chag Sameach to you. Celebrate. Come tomorrow to Shul. We have services. We have a Kiddush in the Sukkah. We'll celebrate the gift of water, the gift of life itself. Baal Shem Tov says, the greatest miracle God does is nature, and He recreates it every moment. Let us recreate those gifts that God gave us, and let them bring us true happiness, internal and eternal happiness. God bless you. Chag Sameach.